If you think this trade war business or whatever's going on in China is simple, you're out of your mind. I know people love to think things are simple. And if I hear Occam's razor one more time, I'm going to scream about this. In fact, please watch my video on Occam's razor, what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean go for this simple. It never said that. They don't even know what the razor part of it is. Think Hickham's dictum. That's reality. It's complicated. And we live in a world today that by virtue of the fact that we have a phone and we have Fox News, that we're instant experts. We're experts in everything. We know everything. And we can distill everything into these simple little phrases, these simple little moments of you say this and America first and and MAGA and Doge. And no. It is complicated. It is simple, but it is multivariate. It's all kinds of things. And certain people should not be allowed to see what is going on because they won't be able to understand it. Do you know one of the reasons why they want you to stay out of the emergency room when they're working on your kid is because they don't want to see they don't want you to see what they're doing to your kid. Bending legs it's horrible. Did you ever see orthopedic surgery? You don't want to see that again. You do not want to see that. And don't ever see it if you're thinking about having it done. It's brutal. But that's reality. I'm here to bring you reality. I don't care whether this comports or works with the left or the right or whether this one likes it. I don't know. I'm not here to simplify it. I'm not here to do anything but tell you the truth, the way I see it. And there are some topics I don't talk about because they are so complicated. They are beyond anybody's understanding. Because there's about 2, 3, or 4 different concomitant worldviews going on simultaneously, and people cannot understand them. Because don't forget the great words of F. Scott Fitzgerald: the sign of a great mind is somebody who can handle 2 seemingly incongruous thoughts simultaneously and not lose his mind. And that's what people are not able to do. They're not able to do that. They're not able to do that. They can't do this. This is about trade war. It's about Trump. It's about this. He may not explain it that well, but what he's doing actually is brilliant. And when you deign to bring up a speech that Ronald Reagan or Milton Friedman said in the 80s, once you bring up Adam Smith, that's good. Let's talk about and trying to explain something. I was trying to tell somebody the other day. I said, you understand that Maggie Thatcher and Reagan were all neoliberal, neocons, and it was a different world then. China wasn't this. They had no idea. From 2017 from 91 to 2017, China was no problem. Now they're a problem. Why? Because of trade, because of economics. That's it. And when Trump slapped trade policies and tariffs on China before, did you see a problem then? No. Did electronics skyrocket? No. What you got to understand, when you're talking to people about this, they'll give you a glazed look. They don't understand what you're talking about. They don't, and you can point to them. You can give them a snippet here. Hey, you like Steve Bannon? Okay, well, pull a Bannon quote, pull an O'Leary quote, pull maybe a gut bucket quote. This is where we are because we live, and this is very interesting. China has some of the quote best educated, but not the best thinking. We have a veritable potpourri of thinking, a pastiche, a myriad, a mosaic of the best thinkers. We don't know anything. We're morons, but we're very good. There's a balance there. Again, complicated. It's complicated. So sit back and get ready. I've got so much to say to you, but please, this is not about a pithy saying. It's not about something glib or cute or whatever. It's something even more important. It's about the future of the country and the future of the world. Make sure you're subscribed and listen carefully to this. Are you drowning in debt? struggling with credit cards or medical bills or personal loans, well, you're not alone. There's help, real help available right now. National Debt Relief is one of the top-rated debt relief companies in America, helping thousands of individuals like you break free from overwhelming financial burdens. For anyone owing over $10,000, National Debt Relief may be able to reduce that debt by up to half or even more. No bankruptcy, no new loans, just a smarter, faster way to financial freedom. Here's how it works. Step 1, you submit the form at No Debt with Lionel. Just go there right now. Step 2, a representative will call within minutes to discuss personalized options. And step 3, they'll create an affordable plan tailored to your individual budget and timeline. Many clients become debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months, paying less than they owe and avoiding years of stress and interest. And the consultation is completely free with no obligation. So what are you waiting for? Why keep dodging calls and watching interest stack up? So go right now to NoDebtWithLionel.com. That's NoDebtWithLionel.com. This could be the turning point, the step toward peace of mind, control, and a fresh start. NoDebtWithLionel.com. Go now. If you're in a plane and you are sitting next to me and we're passengers and you're a woman, let's say, and you hate the pilot because this is an ex-husband of yours and you were together at one particular point and now you're not, and blah, blah, blah. And you are hoping and praying that he fails, that he makes a mistake, that he overshoots the runway, that he's fired, that he's made to look stupid because you hate him so much. You want him to fail. You want him to fail as a pilot, and you look at this person and say, I'm on this plane. Yeah, but I hate that pilot so much. You don't understand what he did to me. You don't understand what he did to me. You don't understand. Excuse me. I'm on this plane. What are you doing? That's the Democratic Party. That's the Democratic Party. I'm going to make this as simple as possible, not out of Occam's razor, but it's very, very simple. Sometimes there are some medical diagnoses that are very simple. You cut a major artery, you're bleeding to death. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Nothing deep. That's about it. And we can talk about that forever. And they're traitors, and they're technically not traitors because they're not really. They're not giving aid and comfort to the enemy. There's not a war, blah, blah, blah. But it's just a phrase. It's just a phrase that we understand and look to. But we're talking about something that is deeper and more complicated than what people understand. And when I try, I have friends, and it always works like this. For the longest time, friends of mine, good people, think that somehow I'm imbued, maybe with a different understanding, a better understanding of what's going on by virtue of what I've done, because I'm always reading about it, talking about it, tweeting about it. And I realize I'm wasting my time. Whenever I talk about AI or the Middle East, I'm wasting my time. I waste my time. I don't even bother. It's like talking to a child about what it means to be recherché. It's like the relationship between the United States and China. Please, let's don't become Sinophobic like we were Russophobic. It's not about hating China, the Chinese. And don't think for a moment it's easier for some Americans to hate the Chinese because the Chinese look different. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? Do you? Oh, don't think for a moment that's not true. Don't think for a moment that's not true. That was the whole thing about World War II. It was easier for us to hate the Japanese than the Germans because the Germans and certainly the Italians look kind of like us. The Chinese want for the Chinese what we want. This is Mearsheimer Realism 101. If you don't understand what this is about, when people, we love to talk about the mob. Oh, there's these mob I am so I never thought I'd be so bored with the mob after all of these mob uh uh I mean these things is over and over. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world I've ever seen in my life. Over and over. Oh, it was Sammy the Bull. Oh, wait, was Jimmy the Jet? Was anybody? What was Tommy DeSimone like? It's this. But if you had to explain to me, let me tell you what these people are about. They're about money. And if there was no money in the mob, there wouldn't be the mob. They're not in the mob because they're Sicilian. They're not because they lived in this world kind of a post-feudal Sicilian world where they've learned to distrust the. No, they're there for the money. A crook is a businessman who doesn't care about the rules. They're not immoral. I mean, they're in the money. And there's really no difference between them and Jamie Dimon. But Jamie Dimon's mentality is to make money. That's it. When you talk about all these people who are doing all this trafficking stuff, you know what that's about? Money. It's not about the PEDO crowd. It's about money. There's nothing to this. China wants to be what we are. We don't want anybody to own. They want to own their world. The way we do. Do you not understand this? Do you think China is supposed to sit back and just say, okay, let's back up? No. The United States and China, it's not just a matter of just a trade imbalance or competing markets. It's a battle for global dominance and national sovereignty. People don't understand when I say that because they want it simpler. They think it's Occam's razor, but it's not. It's very, very simple. And we're talking about generations. When 1949, the revolution, they were eating dirt. Look where they've come. Look where they've come. It's just incredible. And if you don't understand this, if you get into this thing about they're evil and all this stuff, you're missing the point. For more than 2 decades, China has waged a systematic economic war against the industrial democracies. And the U.S. has been its primary target. If you don't, when I say you, it's not you. If the country doesn't understand that, go watch Gut Bucket or something. I just would make jokes about it. They don't, but I'm treating you because I know you understand it. Through unfair and some will say illegal trade practices, state-controlled economic strategies, deeply embedded market manipulation like you cannot believe, intellectual espionage, theft, you name it. China has built its economy on the back of exploited loopholes and bending the rules and breaking the rules in terms of it. China doesn't make anything. Name a famous Chinese. Who is their Beethoven? Who is their... Now, granted, you can say, well, there's a problem, but understand what their mindset. They'll take send them raw materials, they'll turn around and send it back. When you go to a TJ Maxx in Beijing, do you see anything that says made in America? Everything here is made in China. Everything. Everything that they sell. So, how do you get China back? You're not going to flood our markets with it. We're going to use tariffs. Now, the idea is that, well, it's going to, I love that America. This is going to hurt us. Is that it? You see how selfish we are? It's about us. But bottom line, I understand it. When you've got an Elon Musk or you've got some 401k, you got an Ackman, you got a Wall Streeter, what do you think their interest is in? Where do you think this is? If you've got a 16-year-old daughter or something, he's got a male suitor, and you sit down and you say, let me explain something to you. I understand. It's nothing personal. I was 16. I was your age. This is my daughter. I understand how this thing works. Do you understand what is going on here? Are you going to be moralistic about it? Do you think this is good guys and bad guys? Is that it? If that helps you, I don't believe in good guys and bad guys. I believe in reality. This is the way it is. Morality, evil, but no. What do you want? What do I want? What do they want? What's their goal? Donald Trump, the orange man, the guy with the long ties, is saying that the United States not only recognizes this reality, which he's been saying since day one, but it acts decisively to reclaim our economic future and our economic prominence. And if they've got a problem with that, I don't care. I ain't going to apologize for that. Sorry. I want the United States first. I'll be nice to other countries. Listen to me. I'm the most unbellicose person there is. I don't want wars. I don't want any of this stuff. I don't want any of this. But you got to understand something. People do not understand this. They don't. They think they can jump into any conversation regarding any subject and just weigh in. They feel somehow imbued in and by this ability to say anything. We know everything. We're experts. They don't understand something. They don't understand what we are. I am born here. I'm not I'm not patriotic. No. This is my team. It's very simple. There's nothing really to it. I wasn't born here because this is the best country. No, I was born here because my parents had me here. If I was in Syria, I think I'd be more of a Damascus dude. There's nothing special about being an American. We're born here. A lot of people want to come here. It's a special country, don't get me wrong. But I just want us to be number one. That's it. Period. End of discussion. End of discussion. Do people understand this? I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not gonna argue against it. This is the way it is. This is the reality. And what we're witnessing here is not a trade disagreement. It's a full-scale economic confrontation. China engages in massive intellectual property theft. I mean, they are gangsters. Tommy Lucchese couldn't compete with this. Coerced technology transfers. Artificial currency deflation. When you say to people, they go, what are you talking about? It's subsidies to state-owned enterprises that completely distort and disrupt and destroy the basics of free market capitalism. That's it. That's it. I'm not going to get bent on a shape. That's who it is. They are not the enemy. They're the target. Got to take care of that one. It's like having an infection. Ooh, this wound. This isn't healing well. Oh, I hate you, Mr. Wound. No. This is what happens. We've got to look at this. We've got to go to step B. It's a wound. We got to fix this. Doctors don't get upset over wounds and infections. Doesn't matter. Damn diarrhea. No. American companies have been lured into joint ventures in China only to have their technology stolen, ripped off, their markets undercut. How long are we going to put up with that? Don't forget the catalytic declarations. Quousque tandem abutere Catalina patientia nostra. How long are we going to put up with this? These tactics, these aren't incidental. They are the foundation of China's strategy to supplant the United States as the world's leading economic power. Don't get upset. That's what they're supposed to do. That's the way it is. That's realism. Now, we need to be clear here. This is an economic war. It's long overdue. Thank you, President Trump. And the Democrats are going crazy because they just want their own money. They'll do, I don't know, their role playing as leaders, they don't care about this country. They never even speak. They never have a flag. They hate this. They hate, in a weird way, it's like self-hate. You know how they always use these words? There's an expression, self-loathing Jew. Incorrectly used. This is self-loathing American. And it's long overdue that the United States fights back. Now, the imposition of aggressive tariffs is not just justified, it's essential. It's what you need to do. It's what will save us. I've used the analogy before of fecal transplant. And people get upset because it deals with poop, of course, and people have the sensibility of a child. But they found out that when people have C. diff, whatever, in order to rejig or restart, if you will, to restart the human biome, they will transplant feces from somebody with stable biota, stable gut flora, stable system, if you will, and transplant it via enema, via colonoscopy, so to speak, in in somebody who has this irregularity. And it sounds terrible, people laugh, but it saved lives. That's what this is. This is fecal transplant. These tariffs are not about punishing American consumers. They're about rebalancing, rejiggering, reestablishing the scales and holding China once and for all accountable for the decades of predatory behavior. Now, remember, don't try to tell people this. They're not going to understand. Have I told you, in a couple of instances, there were some people who were pretty doggone good. And the guy who really has been terrific is this Kevin O'Leary.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what her natural reaction was? Because this woman doesn't know anything. It's like what I told you before. It's like I just told you. And you can read in some of the comments. Fecal transplants have saved lives. People with C. diff saved lives. But when you tell this to Americans, they have an 8-year-old mentality and they just do poop jokes. They can't get it emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. They can't, because they live in this childlike framework of always wanting to be funny, or I don't know what it is. Immaturity, stupidity, I don't know. This woman is living in the world like the child, where she is told if Trump does it, it's wrong. It's wrong. What does she care about the size of the tariff if she truly understood what President Trump was trying to accomplish? I don't think she understands what O'Leary's saying.
This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. She can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily.
Now look at her. She has not a clue. You see that look of pain, like she's trying to pass a Bezoar? There you go for you intestinal friends. Like she's in mid-Valsalva. She doesn't understand this. She understands this in the most simplistic and rudimentary of anti-Trump perspectives.
The head honchos of businesses all across the globe. Can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
lived, by the way. Do it right. Always say short-lived.
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
See this? She has no idea. What is her perspective? Very simple. If this is painful for me, Years ago, I was talking about diets, and I figured the story was, somebody said, and you can listen to this all you want, the pro-carb, anti-carb. Somebody said, pasta. He goes, but I'm Italian. It's like, well, we just stopped the discussion on diets. If it's inconvenient, if I don't understand it, I'm going to, my response is not what you're saying is incorrect. My response is, this is a problem for me. We're going to put you in rehab. I'm going to stop heroin? Yes. Oh, I love heroin. See how that works? See, this is the problem we have. And by the way, remember, nobody understands what's going on. I understand that what I'm saying, I'm wasting my time. But I'm going to tell, a lot of people do understand. Most people have no earthly idea. And it's not because it's not because it's difficult. It's because it's the way they've never learned to think before, or they've never, I don't know. It's too much like this woman who says, isn't that painful? Tariffs force companies and governments to rethink supply chains, to rethink and reconsider dependency, to realign trade, with, I guess, national interests in mind. This is economic patriotism in action when you're trying to say this. And I sometimes use the word traitor, even though this isn't treason, but it gets people's attention because people think very simply. Look, we cannot allow the fear-mongering from globalist elites, and those, by the way, who are on the side and secretly pulling for CCP and hate us. And by the way, Europe hates us too because we are saying no more. They don't know what's going on. But we're not going to allow them and the left-wing media to dominate the narrative. I mean, that's the way it is. These are the same voices that have cheered the destruction of America's manufacturing base. They wanted the offshoring of millions of jobs. They didn't care about this. They never care about anything. And the erosion of our industrial heartlands, the Rust Belt. Remember who voted in Trump? Blue collars. They tell us that tariffs are going to hurt. But what they don't tell you is that the current system has already hurt us badly. Our towns, our cities, our workers, our independents have all suffered under the weight of this trade relationship that's rigged against us. And Trump's going to fix this. It's not because I like Trump. There's some stuff that Trump's doing that, remember, I'm not an apologist. He's right here. The Trump administration strategy is a return to common sense. Doesn't mean it's not painful. Tariffs are a tool, and like any tool, they must be used with clarity and purpose and for the right job. And this is not isolationism, it's restoration. Try that on one of your friends. Tell them that. And they'll look at you like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because remember, we have a trade deficit in terms of knowledge. Americans don't know anything about this. They know nothing about this. Or if they know it, they only know so much as doing everything in their power to hurt people's feelings. Look, it's the rebuilding of a sovereign economy that doesn't rely on a hostile foreign power for its essentials. That's it. Tariffs give leverage. They give time. Tariffs force and make the conversation that no one wanted to have when corporate profits were soaring on Main Street. Soaring on Wall Street, and Main Street was just falling apart and crumbling. Let me give you another one. Let me see. This always helps. Tutorials, visuals are good. This is a very, very, very good. I want you to hear this dude from CNN. He says it perfectly about Trump.
Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders.
This is CNN.
He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s. The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Not a clue.
Okay, so Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking, get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump, but what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way, and that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms, and he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
So completely differently, clearly they agree, but take it a step further, do the people think he has too much, he's taken too much power?
Yeah, this I think is the real question, right?
No, the question is, do the people think it's better or worse? That's the question.
You can believe that he's doing stuff completely differently, but do you think that he has a little too much power or not? And this is interesting. So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much, but then you get 36% who say the right amount. Then you get 17% who say too little. So you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power or the right amount of power. So the idea, that argument that Donald Trump is, quote unquote, a king, that I don't think holds with the American people. It does hold maybe with 47%, but with the majority of folks, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power. And the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a soaring eagle.
Isn't that something? And that CNN hates that beyond anything you can imagine. You know, when you talk about the Chinese economic model, it thrives on no opacity, okay? Central control, the manipulation of international institutions. Their entire approach is designed to undercut that which economists talk about, transparency and the rules-based norms that define Western markets. We love that rules-based. Remember a while back, rules-based. It's like the global South. There's a new word. It's been around, but it's new. Rules-based. You see, they've played the long game. This is China. Now remember, I'm not saying this because they're bad people. I'm saying this is reality. And they played it well. But now the game has changed. The U.S. is finally playing to win. And this is something you have to understand. This isn't just about steel or semiconductors. It's about reclaiming economic sovereignty. It's about national security. And the same supply chains that bring us cheap electronics are also the ones that we rely on for critical medicines, defense components, infrastructure materials. Okay? This is business. I talk about emergency food a lot. We haven't seen that yet. Now, do we really want to depend on a country that openly strategizes to replace us on the world stage? Seriously. You answer that question. Ask one of your friends that. And they'll look at you like, huh? The answer is no. And if the answer is no, then tariffs are the beginning of the solution. It's that simple. See, tariffs are only the first step. We must pursue strategic decoupling. That's a great word. Decoupling. This means unwinding our dependency on Chinese manufacturing and rebuilding domestic capacity across critical sectors. It means, you've always heard this, incentivizing American businesses to come home. It means ending our addiction to cheap labor and confronting the long-term costs of short-term profit. This is what it's about. It's not about decoupling. Also means, this is important, forging and creating new groups, new alliances, new allegiances. We have to deepen and make deeper our economic ties with nations that respect fair trade and transparency and reciprocity and playing by the rules. This is critical. And it includes looking at, again, and revisiting trade agreements with allies and building coalitions to confront, China's global ambitions. Remember, I'm going to say this again. I'm not a Sinophile. I'm not a Sinophobe. I'm just, again, to overuse the Mearsheimer term, I'm a realist. And look, I'm I'm just a political or trade or scientist. A coordinated economic front on the part of the good guys can create a powerful counterweight to Chinese influence in international markets. Because let me tell you what Xi Jinping's doing now. Xi right now is thinking, I got to do something. And then look at him like, okay, great leader, Mr. Tough Guy, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to raise about, okay, we're going to shut out or close down or remove American movies. Dear God. The left wants to talk about climate change and equity and global cooperation. Fine, that's great. Let's talk about that. That's beautiful, okay? But we can't pretend that sourcing solar panels and electric car batteries from China while they burn coal and exploit forced labor is some moral high ground. I don't understand this. They don't care about that. These are the same people who talk about climate change, and then in Davos, all those people fly in with their jets. It's nuts. If we actually care about the environment and human rights, we should lead by example and build clean industries here at home under our laws, with our standards. And let me be crystal clear about something. This is the most important thing in the world. This is the most important thing in the world. This is not about hating China. And I want you to listen carefully. It's not about that. We always have to remind people that we're talking about who always want to personalize it. They always want to lower it down. They're the same ones who yell, racism or this. No. It's not about that. This is not about the Chinese Communist Party, or excuse me, it's about the Chinese people. But it's not about the Chinese people. It's about the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and its agenda. It's about Xi Jinping. It's about what they want to do. This is about protecting American workers, protecting our people, our industries, our freedoms. This is about ensuring, listen to me carefully, and try explaining this to your friends, because you have to be an apostle of the truth here, about ensuring that the next generation inherits a nation that makes things, builds things, leads the world by strength and not by dependence. It's that simple. Donald Trump has been, I'm going to say this, a visionary. We've tried the other way. We tried engagement. We tried diplomacy. We tried wishful thinking and hoping and playing nice. And we sent our factories overseas and told ourselves that services and tech would carry us forward. Don't worry about it. We'll be great. And what did we get? Ghost towns, broken supply chains, strategic, very, very strategic and critical vulnerabilities, a global pandemic. And we haven't even discussed that one, but a global pandemic that exposed just how dependent we had become. A global pandemic that, if I told you, what if it was deliberately created? What if it was deliberately procured? What if it was deliberately caused? The Wuhan, the Wu flu, remember this? And everybody was so careful. Oh God, don't hurt their sensibilities. They're going to call this racism. Remember that? Remember that? I can't believe this. I couldn't believe what I heard. That's because this was before Donald Trump was here. You see, well, one could argue, did Trump handle the vaccine and the pandemic incorrectly? Yeah, but how would he have known? How would he have known? Remember the zeitgeist then. This is the intersection right now, the injection point. We can either do this. We can either double down, okay, on this failed lunacy, this orthodoxy, this whatever this idea is. Or we can take the hard path, the hard direction of national, kind of like a revival. America is not completely at the apex or the zenith of its growth. We choose to grow, and we must do it unapologetically. Now, let me explain something to you also. Look what else we're hearing. Look what people are saying, and look how important this is. Look at this. This is also CNN.
And Trump won because he won blue-collar union voters. And he and the Republicans view that as the base of the party now. And it's different. It's different than when Reagan won, where it was mostly wealthy people. Now the wealthy people vote Democratic and middle-class people are generally voting Republican. And so this is a this is a policy position that's actually fairly popular with Americans. You're right. I'm a free trader.
Which part, Scott? I'm sorry, Steve. Which part do you think is popular? Because I don't think that's true.
Well, let me.
You see this? No, I'm not trying to say anything mean, but I'm going to tell you the truth. She doesn't have a clue. They told her, please be as much of the old CNN as possible, but interject the usual way of thinking, but don't push it, but don't let them speak highly of Trump. And what they're doing is, remember, they've got Steve, what's his name, Jenkins or Jen, whatever. He's there, and then this feller, Steve, I forget his name, but he's been a usual kind of a Democratic moderate. But see, this is as much as CNN will push back. That's why they're doing much better than DNC. MSDNC is just done. They're just finished. They went heavy-handed and through.
You say this. Even though Trump knows I'm a free trade guy, and he knows that I oftentimes oppose these policies.
I'm a free trade guy. Doesn't that sound good? I'm a free trade. I'm a libertarian. You know, it sounds good. It's like, well, who isn't?
He still calls on me. He likes to get different opinions from different people. And in the end of the day, I'm going to predict this has been a rough period, no question. But Trump is a winner. He's a master negotiator. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have these countries calling him up on the phone, one by one, and making a deal with them. It's going to be good for
what's going to happen to the U.S.
You hear that? Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Do you hear what's going on here? You hear that? Let me tell you something. I hear so many people say the right thing. Let me tell you one thing, too. I am not let me rephrase this. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of, but I am not one of the biggest quoters, dare I say, of Charlie Kirk. But he says some things, as do everybody. Bannon has been better now than ever. Bannon has been unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I've got this one piece that from Charlie Kirk that makes so much sense. I want you to hear it, but only after this. Let me ask you a question. What happens when the trucks stop? Think about this. Trucks, you know, the trucks that bring your food, and then when one store closes because of a riot or ransomware hit or a hurricane or even manufactured weather. Oh yeah, we've talked about that. What happens when all of a sudden, suddenly, the entire supply chain collapses like dominoes? What happens then? We've seen it happen, and it doesn't take much. And that's the thing you've got to think about. A trucker strike, a cyber attack, some EMP, some Carrington-class disaster, a city shut down by violence. It only takes one spark for shelves to go empty fast. And when that happens, and when that moment hits, you either have what you need or you don't. And that's why I am telling you, I want you to go to preparedwithlionel.com. Our trusted friends at My Patriot Supply, they're offering unbelievable deals right now. You've got to see deals on emergency food kits that could save your life and your sanity. Over 2,000 calories per day. For 3 months of food per person, shelf stable for 25 years, in any kind of combinations you want, and made to taste like actual meals, not cardboard, not some military MRE. These kits aren't just insurance, they're peace of mind. So go to preparedwithlionel.com, secure your kit, secure your future. Preparedwithlionel.com, preparedwithlionel.com, because when the world breaks down, the prepared don't panic. My friends, your wonderful comments, let me just say, your super chats, your support of the channel mean more than you can imagine. And our stable of hardcore, the diehards, the kitchen cabinet, so to speak. Raul says, is wanting a rumble with China self-hate? Absolutely not. Not wanting a rumble, but wanting there to show respect. Pilgrim Media says the Chinese sociopathic mercantilism won't stand. Pilgrim, it is not sociopathic. It is not sociopathic in the least. I can't say this again. I can't explain this again. I can't put this into perspective again. I cannot I am telling you right now. This is the way countries act. This is human and national and geopolitical behavior. Don't read into this. Don't demonize. The Chinese people are not evil. We are not evil. We want us to win. Now, remember that. I'm just saying, I know it's very easy to say this, to always be kind of like that Manichaean look, if you will. Cut Up Chatter says, a mirror reflects back more than you focus on. Another great piece of dare I say, fortune cookie brilliance, and I agree to that with that. Charlie says, people have been indoctrinated that tariffs are always bad. Protectionism is needed at this time. What do you think a tariff is? It's law and order. It's a restraint. It's a break. It's punitive. It's sanctions. This is what you have. How are you going to regulate a country to play fair? Appealing to their sense of honor? I don't think so. And Charlie says, Texas and Florida went to highly taxed states to poach them with a tax incentives. The U.S. can do the same thing with countries. But you're right about that. But remember, and Pilgrim says he's chairman of the board, the art of the deal. In many respects, yes. In many respects, yes. Trump is not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. There's no such, how do I say this? There's no such thing as perfect. He is 100% on this. He is not necessarily perfect all the time. I'm not saying that. I'm not an apologist. But this is a different story. But I want you to hear this piece from Charlie Kirk. Again, I like everybody. I don't dislike people. Sometimes I think their thoughts or their whatever. I don't know these people. They might be the nicest people. What they are personally has something to do with what they are in terms of their particular ideology. But listen to this. This is very, very good.
On the Department of Education, how do we plan to compete internationally? I'm an immigrant from China.
Look at this. See what he did? Take down the Department of Education as though the Department of Education is indeed the Department of Education. Now listen carefully. This might be hard to understand.
On the Department of Education, how do we plan to compete internationally? I'm an immigrant from China, and in China, we value education as #1 priority. Because through education, we can improve our social status and become a more valuable member in society.
We have a different view of education than the Chinese. The Chinese model is great from a totalitarian standpoint. You will do this, you will learn that, you will serve the state, and you will be very good at it. I actually would rather have us have millions of thoughtful, deep, philosophically minded, good citizens.
Well, Charlie, okay, provided they agree with you. But I'm with you on this one, Charlie. I know where you're going with this. I'm with you, bud.
That know what it is to think critically. The Department of Education is an administrative state. It is this massive beast that is way overfunded, way overbloated. And if we want to compete with China, we're not going to out-totalitarian them. Instead, we should do what is necessary for a free society to continue to exist. The only way a free society exists is if citizens know what liberty is. Let me just ask you a question. Do they say that is Taiwan, or is it land of the Chinese Communist Party?
We call it Taiwan. We recognize the situation in our government.
Okay, so it's not China's, it's its own sovereign, autonomous country?
We call them Taiwan. We recognize how they're separate, but they still belong to us legally.
Yeah. You see that? Did you hear that?
You see what I'm getting at, right? The difference is this. In totalitarian countries, human beings are little parts of a broader machine to be put in. In a free society, you're all independent souls that are made in the image of God, that you have to understand what freedom and liberty is and to grow into something great.
He's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct. These are some of the things which people have to grasp, have to understand. I got to tell you something. I am so... I was very, very, and I mean this, I was very, very concerned whether I should even discuss this with people, because I've learned long ago, kind of pick the hill you want to die on, but also pick the area you want to discuss. Most people really don't want to discuss things the way I do. And that sounds very highfalutin, but it's not. I don't know. Whenever I have had the opportunity to discuss something in another country, not going there, but just be there, whether it's another country, whether it's European or whatever, I hear it at a level that you can't believe, where I'm thinking, I'd love to have people understand this. Let me see if I can explain this to you. And I want you just to sit back for a second. No matter what the problem is, the way you deal with your kids, the way you deal with a job, whatever it is, the first thing you got to ask yourself, am I right? Now think about this. Am I right? When you go to a boss and you want to ask for a raise, am I right to ask for a raise? Vis-a-vis you, yes, but not from the boss's point of view. He makes the most money when he keeps the most money. It's that simple. He makes the most money. So from your point of view, his point of view, you're greedy. You should be lucky. You've been paid. And now you want more money. What have you done that's so great? Why should I? Why? You're good, but you're not that good. Now, if you heard that, you would say, oh my God, that's the most brutal thing in the world. Now, if he hires you, and if he says, listen, I like your style, I want you to deal in terms of management with your fellow people who were your co-employees. Now they're going to be kind of the adversary. Watch what happens to this person. This guy who used to advocate raises and being happy, all of this stuff, all of the way you thought changes immediately. And now you're saying, I think you're right about this. This guy wants a 25% raise. He didn't do anything. He's been here for 30 years. 30 years doing what? You see what happens? The first question is, what position are you in? That's the question, not who's right, who's wrong. There's no such thing as that. I believe in very, very, very few morals. Let me explain this to you. Morality. There's two kinds of morality. Malum in se, malum prohibitum. Things that are wrong because we say they're wrong have nothing to do with what's really red lights, speeding, filing taxes for, you know what I mean? Yeah, okay. Do you really have a moral compunction about that? Well, maybe not really. Hurting children, maybe animals, stealing, a murder. You don't have to tell me. You don't even have to have there should be, I don't care if there's a law against that. If there's no law against speeding, I'm going to speed. I'm telling you right now. Oh, I'm going to speed. And if you tell me that there's no law against taxes, I ain't going to give you a penny. But I don't need a law to tell me not to hurt people, not to commit murder, not to steal. I don't need it. That's malum in se. Wrong in and of itself. Those are my morals. I don't need God to tell me that. I don't do it because of fear of God. No. You do not do that. That's the way I work. I think most people are like that. I'm sorry. I'm very simple. I'm very uncomplicated. And I do it for a number of reasons too. The reason why I don't commit murder is I don't want to commit murder. It's very easy for me not to do these things because I just don't want to do it. Okay. That being said, when Trump talks with China, he has to be able to tell them, I know who you are. I would sit here and explain, please do yourself a favor. When you're driving in your car, when you have a phone and you can connect, maybe you have a Bluetooth or something, there are some wonderful, wonderful YouTube documentaries on Xi Jinping. Who is he? Explain this. Explain this. His father, whom I guess they imprisoned, and Xi Jinping was actually for it. He had no problem. What is the Maoist main idea? How does that compare with Confucianism, What is the mindset of the Chinese citizen, peasant? What does it mean, peasant? I'm using old terms. In 1949, they were eating dirt. Look at what's going on. You have dissidents. They are the most rapacious. Remember during the time of the Cold War, we did have Soviet communist infiltration. Absolutely, positively, 100%. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't exaggeration. It was the God's honest truth. And we learned this. And Joe McCarthy. And we've been told to hate Joe McCarthy, but Joe McCarthy was right. There were more spies than you can imagine. There were real communists. Robert Oppenheimer, remember him? Commie. There, no. Does he want to? Did that mean he wanted to hurt us? No. Communism. Post World War I, what is it? Not the draft riots, the pension riots or the bonus riots. Douglas MacArthur was put in charge of, how do we say this? He was in charge of dealing with these rioters and actually advocated and was talking about a shoot to kill policy of these folks who were intense. These were American veterans. And he had no problem with mowing them down. This is our culture. Do you really want to get into who's who? What was Mao? What was this about? What happened when we courted them? When we said, when you have, of course, the Rockefellers and you have this before Soros's. What is it? Please, clean slate. Go back. Understand what these people are. If you look at Xi Jinping and you just say he's an evil guy, and if someone said they're sociopathic, you're not going to be in my cabinet. You're not going to be there. We don't do this. We look at this like you would do an infection or health. I don't look at Keir Starmer, this and that. They're people who are part of our new world. Once you start saying they're evil, you're missing the point. But what is it that the Chinese communists want? What did they want? What is it? Now, you could sit here and you could say, well, they want what you want. They want what you want. Let me ask you something. How many of you would really care, seriously, if we were involved in stealing the intellectual property rights of Chinese inventors, if there was such a thing? You wouldn't care. Believe me, you wouldn't say, we cannot be thieves. You would say, hey, we're pretty cool. It's the way it is. You know it. I know it. That's where we are. They love this mentality. They love this mentality. They love it. This is who we're dealing with. So go back to what I said. Xi Jinping, I don't know which one it was, but there's a wonderful documentary about him, where he came from. I think he had some American influence or whatever. I don't know. But let me explain something to you. When you talk about communism, that's the guy you're talking about. Not Russia. Soviet Union's gone. But that's the guy you're talking about. And it's not so much, you see what this week in Russia, they had their 19th or 20th minted billionaire. Good luck of that in China. Good luck. Remember the ones who took people out? There was a milk kind of a criminal case where they had milk fraud or something, and it was a death penalty. Okay, fine. So just remember this. Look at them, Chinese people, just like you, just like me, the average guy. There's no way. I'm going to tell you a story about the Chinese. I've said this before. I'll never forget this. I've got a friend of mine who was, you may or may not know him, but he's as right-wing, in a good way, and conservative, military as you can imagine. He's in news sources. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's really, believe me, you would. He's one of us. Okay. He was in China for, I don't know what he was there for. somebody he dated, he was married, but he was there for an extended period of time. I think there was with a woman of some sort. In any event, he had no idea. And like most places, you don't know what a country is like until you live there. I mean, you can visit there all you want, but you got to live there. And the first thing he noticed, which was so interesting, they had these telephone poles or lines, and every area of the city, every quadrant, every block, every neighborhood, whatever you want to call it, had a regular police guy, not a morality police fellow, but just a regular policeman, who had a sign that said, if anything happens to you, if you are the victim of criminal activity, criminal and whatever it is, if anything happens to you, here is my name. And it was a picture of a, I don't know, captain or whatever, the Chinese police. This is my cellular, my mobile number. This is where you can reach me. Call me. I will get with you immediately. Text me, call me, let me know. If somebody's bothering you, if there's a guy in your neighborhood, anything, you call me. Don't call 911. Don't any of that. No. Call me. They were serious about this. Why? Because this guy's job depended upon doing a good job. And nobody, he said, there was no such thing as crime. Crazy people in the street? No. Now you might say it was excessive. I'm telling you what he didn't see. He didn't see this. Your concept on the losing face. Well, very interesting. That's also very big in Japanese. I remember hearing about that pilgrim in the area of police work. When I used to work with the police academy years ago, there was a. I thought it was a TV term or something, but it's not. There's something to be said for that. But let me go back from what I was saying. But thank you, by the way. He was talking to some people. He said there's a lot of room, as you can imagine, a room but not room in the area of China. Did you know that they found out that, I thought this was so interesting. They needed more area to grow vegetables or whatever it was. I forget how it was phrased. And they noticed that in cemeteries, the areas between the headstones or whatever, they could grow stuff, not, corn stalks, but they're always thinking about, if we put something here, we can grow something here. But here is the best one I'll never forget that he told me. He was talking to somebody and he got to know friends, and they were kind of like, they weren't sure if they knew if he was a spy or, a guy in the news. They knew all about him, but they were talking one day. He says, let me ask you a question. What would happen if somebody R-worded, the terrible R word we can't say, your daughter? What would happen? Not kill her. Just what would happen to that person? And how long would it take for whatever happened? And he said, well, to be honest with you, probably, there'd be maybe some jail. Could be, maybe not. I don't know. The charges might be dismissed. It's hard to say, but death penalty? No. He maybe, 10 years at the most. Maybe when a good time. And he was just wishy-washy. So, okay. So the Chinese fellow says, you know what would happen here? He said, no, and I don't know how long it will be, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was, but that's it. And the reason why is this. It's not that we have this brutal system. It's this. When you do that to somebody's daughter, you do it to all of our daughters. See, their focus is not on the procedure. Their focus was on what you did. And some people could argue, that's going to make sense. So for all of their supposed brutality, when it comes to just regular, I've got a couple of friends, Chinese, real Chinese, not Chinese American, born in China, Chinese accents, Chinese. And most of the folks, I think they retire like at 40 or some ridiculous number. Most of the time, when you go there, you are not in the process of speaking ill of the government, not because they're going to turn you in, but people are pretty kind of happy. They're Chinese, they play their games, they do whatever. It's a different mindset. The average Chinese person versus here is not what you think. I would insist that I would have to know the psychology of how these people think and work before I even bother with even trying to. I don't know enough about them. I would never, ever, I got to tell you something right now. I am so weird about international travel now. I don't feel good about it at all. There's one thing I can tell you about this country. I know it's kind of weird, better with Trump, but I know I have no rights elsewhere. And I don't know what somebody's going to think if they looked at my social media or I don't know. But I would say, unless we understand that we Chinese people think, we're wasting our time. But I'm going to leave you with this, very simply. What we're doing right now is that I want to, as O'Leary said, I want Xi Jinping to get on a plane and fly over here and say, this has got to stop. Let's make a deal now. I can't do this. You got me. You won, uncle. It's that simple. So, dear friends, our good friend Losing Face. By the way, there's some great stories on the subject matter of losing face, where it comes from, the history. It's Chinese, lose face or lose surface, they call it. E.R. Hughes, a scholar of Chinese culture, used the term in the 40s, explaining Confucian values, which emphasize face saving as a central moral and social concept. Always go to ChatGPT or Grok, throw it in, learn. You will be amazed at what you can learn. Pilgrim Media, thank you. Charlie Calais, thank you. Cut Up Chatter, and Raul, I thank you immensely for your support and your love and your loyalty. I mean that sincerely. All right, my friends. Also, today I don't know when, but I might just open her up and do some things about the new Epstein case. Pam Bondi's looking at investigating Soros, some other things. So make sure you're subscribed to Lionel Nation, because if I go live, I just may decide to do it, and you don't want to not be able to know when I'm doing it. So also hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. All right, my friends, have a great and glorious day. Don't forget to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Don't forget our other channel at Lionel Legal. And until we speak, especially during our surprise lives, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.